And the world is made of energy, and the world is electricity, and the world is made of energy, and there's a lot inside of you, and there's a lot inside of me.
Welcome to Magical Tea Time with Dr. Rebecca Wiley. Today we're going to talk about psychedelics and healing. I'm going to begin by telling you my story with psychedelics and how I came across using it for myself and then using it for my clients. If anybody knows the work I do and they know about me, they know that I channel messages from spirit. So basically, throughout my entire life, I'm guided by what spirit tells me to do. Of course, I was born psychic, born intuitive, but I have an extensive background in psychology as well as integrative medicine. So, a lot of my clients that I used to work with, or I do work with, have post traumatic stress disorder, addiction, depression, attachment disorder, and just a lot of physical dis-ease in their body that they tend to be dealing with as well. Well, spirit would say to me, you need to give tea to your clients. You need to give tea to your clients. And I was thinking, okay, do I need to give them chamomile tea? What is it? Do they need to come in and relax enough for me to be able to do the work? And then the way things work for me is synchronicities. So, of course, then one of my clients comes in and she was like, Rebecca, I am drawn to tell you about an experience I had in the Amazon with ayahuasca medicine and the shamans. And then she told me all about it. And she's like, I think you need to try this. So I flew to Peru, went to Iquitos in the Amazon in the middle of the rainforest, and did my first 10-day ayahuasca ceremony. It was absolutely amazing. The way it worked was phenomenal. I worked through so much stuff in those 10 days. And I could tell you about my experiences, but it would take up the whole podcast. So I'm going to skip that. All I can tell you is that it was the most profound experience of my life with these natural healing medicines. So during the ceremony, I realized immediately that that's what spirit was talking about, was the ayahuasca tea. So I was definitely in observation mode and studying mode, not only for what it did for me, but what it did for other people as well. And what I noticed was people were aggressively working through their issues, and for long periods of time, this medicine lasts for 12 hours at a time. And I was observing the situation, and sometimes in these ceremonies, because you're in the Maloka with up to 30 people, and the shamans are fantastic, and they sing, songs, and the igurus come in and they work on you. But often I noticed that some people are distressed or their traumas are coming up, and it seemed like they were doing a little bit of suffering. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be fabulous to be able to work on them in the way I know how, with the energy work and the different trauma modalities, and facilitate healing? So then I was like, ding, 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 this is what Spirit was talking about. So I came back to the United States and continued to do more studying and more ceremonies and more observations. And then I went back to Peru and actually studied with the shamans and learned a little bit about facilitation and how to be the facilitator within the ceremony. And what I noticed was that the shamans often did the tea with the clients. And I know why, because when you do the tea, you become holographic and your clients are becoming holographic. And there's a lot of shifts that can be made at that point on all different levels. My first real profound experience with this was when I was just able to know exactly what someone was going through. I was sitting beside a girl and we were eating fruit after the ceremony. Fruit tastes amazing after you do ayahuasca. And she was telling her life experience, and I could see and hear and feel, and I just was in her experience. I knew exactly what she was going through. And I explained it to her, and she said, "Oh my God, no one has ever understood it that way." And I said, "It's more than understanding, it's like I'm in it." So I was able to do an energetic program and downloads and shift her energy in a way where I could help her process the experience rapidly. And that was my first experience with helping someone while I was on the medicine and they were on the medicine. Later on, I learned how to do this without being on the medicine myself, but that was a learning experience within itself. So I studied intensively with the shamans, and in the States and out of the States. And then I started to also learn about the psilocybin mushrooms. And I did many ceremonies with the mushrooms for myself, and once again with clients and observed clients. And then I realized, this is something that I definitely want to do for a living. And I want to do this for a career. I really want to help people make huge changes in their life. I met a shaman in I didn't meet him. I knew him from Peru and met up with him in Los Angeles. And he observed my work, and I guess I was found worthy because I was able then to work in congruence with them, work with them, and actually do these healing ceremonies as well. So I just want to answer your questions about psychedelics. I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on according to Western medicine, what's going on according to Eastern medicine, and how this works for you. So let's begin by looking at the definition of psychedelic. Because that term, you think, oh, high, everybody's getting high, everybody's doing drugs, and they immediately get turned off. You do not do this work for fun. Like, you do not just go do ayahuasca for fun. In my opinion, you don't go do mushrooms for fun. You do this experience for a spiritual healing experience. Psychedelics means mind altering, mind opening, mind expanding, and hallucinations. So if you look it up, that's generally what it says. The mind expansion, the mind blowing, and the mind altering is self explanatory. You're expanding your mind, which is definitely what we want when you're trying to heal. Hallucinations, if you think about that, coming from the world of psychology, when a psychologist is assessing someone, basically anything that person can see or hear that the psychologist can't is deemed an hallucination. So think about that. Think about how narrow minded that is. And oftentimes those people are given medications, antipsychotic medications to make the hallucinations go away and to really numb them. And then oftentimes they're sent into psychiatric hospitals. So, whenever you, let's start out with ayahuasca. Whenever you talk about the natural plant medicine, what I like about it is that it's natural. I have made ayahuasca. I've been in the process. I can tell you that basically you use capi, which is a vine or a bark, and that capi is the MAOI inhibitor. And then you want to use the DMT, which is just leaves, like the chakaruna leaf is a leaf that they often use. And they mix the bark with the leaf. So the DMT, which is in the leaf, can't be activated without the MAOI inhibitor, which is in the bark. So you mix them together. You're using distilled water, you're using vinegar, you're doing a lot of draining. You're draining and you're stirring again, draining, stirring again. And it takes hours and hours and hours. But, at the end, you get the ayahuasca tea. And that's all it is. So I can tell you there's nothing dangerous in it. I think that when you look on the internet and people are talking about, tragic incidents that happen with ayahuasca, I think that people are mixing stuff in it that they're not supposed to be. I'm pretty certain of that. So, if you go to a place where they have integrity and you're working with someone who knows what they're doing, then there's really no risks involved if you're in good health, which you do have to do a health assessment before you do the ayahuasca, so you're protected there. And the psilocybin or the magic mushrooms, I mean, that grows naturally within the earth. So unless someone's mixing something with them, they're safe as well. I mean, mushrooms have been growing obviously since the beginning of the earth, and shamans have used them for thousands of years. Shamans used mushrooms to facilitate rain dances, making it rain. Mushrooms are associated with paranormal events in reference to the Indians or the shamans. There's theories that part of evolution and part of the expanding of our mind and our consciousness and our awareness and our intelligence has to do with the fact that, our ancestors consumed magic mushrooms. There's a lot to be said there. So what is the difference between ayahuasca and magic mushrooms? There's not too much of a difference, but yet there is. So they both do the same thing. They're both releasing the DMT. They're both mind altering. They both expand your consciousness. They expand your awareness. But when you interview people collectively, this is the general difference between the two. So ayahuasca has an agenda. Ayahuasca is a mother. When you're doing ayahuasca, it's a very profound spiritual experience. You know, Mother Ayahuasca often comes in as the snake. She is Mother Earth. She's very nurturing, but yet she can also be very wise and um, interesting how she teaches you. So even though some of the experiences may seem harsher or cruel while you're doing them, afterwards you completely understand why it happened. But ayahuasca has an agenda. So when you consume the tea, it takes about 1 to 2 hours to work. And ayahuasca just finds in you what needs to be released. You know, I do many integration circles, and people will say it's like having the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future come and visit you. You know, you're seeing everything. It's like a 3D life review. You know, you can hear things that happened when you were, 3 years old. So you get perspective, you get awareness of things in your life. And ayahuasca finds the things that need to be brought to the surface, that need to be worked through, and then you work through them. To release ayahuasca, to release those events, ayahuasca has you either vomit, throw up, which is vomiting, cry, or have diarrhea. So in Western medicine, the way you would explain the effect of ayahuasca, there's emotions that are stuck in the limbic system. So when you have a trauma, that trauma is stuck in the limbic system. It's also affecting the dura, which is the spinal fluid. So what it does is ayahuasca, when it gets to the source of the trauma, your limbic system releases, and that release is either through tears, throw up, or diarrhea. People say to me, I'm scared of throwing up. Well, think about why you're scared of throwing up, because throwing up means you're out of control. So people who are petrified of throwing up generally do have some sort of control issues and need that letting go process. The good thing is it doesn't always have to be that way. So when your body gets used to releasing, and I'm telling you, when you throw up, when you do ayahuasca, it's not that bad, because like when ayahuasca finds a trauma or something that needs to be released, that feels so good to let that out of your body. It's not just random throwing up. You can feel that release. It's a very cathartic experience. But, one thing I channeled after I was done doing sessions of throwing up was Mother Ayahuasca says to me, Rebecca, you don't need to throw up to release this, because everything is energy. Just start doing life force breaths. Breathe in life force, and then breathe out the stagnant energy that needs to be released. So instead of throwing up when something needs to be released, just breathe it out. So I've been using that, and I do teach that to my clients as well. Another thing ayahuasca told me was, if people learned to release the stagnant energy routinely in their life, they would never get the flu. People get the flu because they're ignoring what they need. They're ignoring the things they need to release. They're not slowing down. So your body is in a state where it's like, you know what? I need to take a break. I need to release what's been building up in this body, and you feel sick and you get a temperature and then you throw up. But if you would do this and you would be in that higher frequency all your life, you would never get sick. So that was quite interesting. Now, psilocybin, it works a little bit differently. So ayahuasca, basically, you're, releasing from the dura fluid, you're releasing from the limbic system, you're resetting your body, like epigenetics. So you're, rewiring your body. It's not the hard wiring, but it's the soft wiring. And basically it's resetting, rewiring your body. The psilocybin, it works the same way by releasing the DMT, but it's different because if you were to give someone magic mushrooms and put them in a room, they might be able to stare at a lamp for about an hour and just be like, "Ooh, a lamp." Where ayahuasca would have had you work through like 5,000 things within that hour, mushrooms, you could be staring at the lamp for an hour. So the mushrooms, what it does is you're an open book. Basically, it's opening portals all around you, and the right and left hemisphere is lighting up in the brain, which never happens together on an everyday basis, but the psilocybin allows both the hemispheres to light up. It starts cross communicating. It works in the prefrontal cortex and the frontal lobe. So it's like you're in a perfect position to alter your consciousness, your awareness, and heal. So what you do with the psilocybin is we bring forth what you want to work on. So where the ayahuasca is like, you need to work on this, 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 and this, the psilocybin is like, hey, bring it to the table and I'll work through it. That's why I think psilocybin is amazing with manifesting. I can't tell you how rapidly you can manifest with psilocybin. So the psilocybin's working on, it's doing the same thing, resetting, altering the brain chemicals, working on the prefrontal cortex and the frontal lobe. Both have permanent effects after you do it. It's not just a high where you're done and you go home and then everything's the same or worse. You cannot get addicted to ayahuasca or psilocybin because you're not in a continuous loop and you just don't get addicted to it. So both work very well. They work differently. I think that they work amazing when you complement one with the other, not in the same ceremony, but in different ceremonies. If someone came to me for addictions, I would definitely have them use ayahuasca first. Psilocybin helps with addictions, but usually comorbid with any addiction is some sort of trauma. So if that's the case, hey, let ayahuasca find that and then, push it out of the body. Then let psilocybin reset your body. Either one can work. So if someone's averse to ayahuasca, the psilocybin can work, but that would be my recommendation. So let's talk about what you need to do to prepare yourself for either one of the ceremonies. You have to take this very seriously. It is a profound spiritual experience. At the end of especially the ayahuasca ceremony, I remember thinking, wow, of all the church events I've ever been to, this just blows anything out of the water. It's definitely not religious, but you just feel so connected and so in love, with everything and at peace, and you have a genuine appreciation for life. Well, even with the psilocybin, with ayahuasca, it's definitely you can feel the sacredness in the ayahuasca. So you when you make the appointment to do the ayahuasca ceremony or the psilocybin, your life starts to alter right then. Your intent is I'm going to heal myself. There are going to be some changes in my life. So synchronicities start to happen. Your life starts to line up. So you need to take it seriously. You prepare your body. You don't want to eat any really hard foods, heavy foods, a week to 2 weeks before you go. So you want to have, maybe take caffeine out of your diet, eat like fish and rice and beans, and be very hydrated. I know that when we facilitate the ceremonies, first of all, when we facilitate them, they're individualized. We don't do groups. I only do individualized where there's one-on-one. It's because I'm really trying to work through everything with the client. So the most people that we have in the ceremony would be two people because there's two facilitators. But we do a development plan. So, before you come to the ceremony, we do a 2-hour assessment. We learn about you on all levels. We learn about your physical self, your emotional self, your spiritual self, any medications you're on, any illnesses that you've had. Of course, if you're on an MAOI inhibitor, you can't go until your body's clear of that. You don't want to go currently on heroin or addicted to alcohol. You want to be detoxed before you come. So we talk about that. We go over the medications. We try to, pair you with your doctor to get weaned off any medications that you have to before you come as well. Come up with a development plan, what you want to work on, what you want to accomplish. But when under the influence of the natural plant medicine, it's the most organized spontaneity out there. So you have an organized development plan, but the medicine itself works extremely spontaneously. So, for example, ayahuasca, like I said, she knows where she wants to go as a facilitator. We go where she wants to go, and we help you through that. We do energy work, we do psychological work, we help you through the process. We want you to rapidly, get through this effortlessly and easily and with grace. Okay, with psilocybin as well. We take the development plan and you're in an open state, and then we start the conversation and the therapy with you. So both work out very well. So we do the development plan, and then you come and you get settled in. I prefer place comfortable, so you have your own room, and we're as comfortable as can be. The setting is important. So of course you're in a therapeutic setting. You've already got your intent. You're in a therapeutic setting. Everything around you is congruent to healing. The situation, making sure that the situation is what you need it to be. You're not picking up on other people's energies. We're really just focused on you. So both medicines can last up to 12 hours. So we work as long as the medicine is working. And then in the morning, we do a orientation, or not orientation, integration. And then 7 to 10 days after you're done, we make sure to also do post planning. So we do an integration. What we do is we call you and we see the things that you have learned in the ceremony. Have you been applying it to your everyday life? Because there's profound changes that are done. Behavioral changes, a lot of it is ego deconstruction. And to fit yourself back into your reality can sometimes be a little bit difficult. That's what I hear often. So we're there to help you to do that, to make any of the behavioral changes and to set any boundaries that need to be done. Heart surgeries, back surgeries, visited by angels. Everybody's experience is unique. I mean, it is amazing what can be done during these ceremonies. Nothing is promised, but there has definitely been some profound healings. But not just that, anybody who wants to better their life, anybody who wants to expand their awareness, their consciousness, the realm of possibilities, this is the place to go. I can't tell you how much manifesting I have done with this medicine. I have basically changed my life profoundly because of this medicine. Things I didn't think I could accomplish during this lifetime, events and synchronicities just happened, and I was able to accomplish them. I worked through any programs, fears, beliefs, any obstacles that were preventing me. And I have to say that ayahuasca and psilocybin definitely helped me to do this. Manifesting is huge with this. So, if you want to manifest good health, if you want to manifest wealth, if you're doing a business venture, this is amazing to turn to. If you have relationship issues, or not even just relationship issues, if you just want the best relationship you can have, I can tell you when you are doing this with your significant other, it is amazing. So when I see a couple come together, it just makes me so happy, because not only are you working on yourself, ayahuasca and even the psilocybin, it'll find things that you need to work on as a couple. So you work on yourself. When I have a couple come, they work on themselves individually, and then we bring them together at the end. And when we bring them together, like more towards the end of the night, we're teaching them how to communicate with each other energetically. So they're clearing their chakras. They are allowing themselves to communicate through their energy to one another. And what that's doing is that's allowing them to have an intimate bond that they've never had before. Because when you learn how to, share energy with your partner, and I'm not talking about physical because they're not touching, but your energies will start to combine. You get such a deeper understanding for that person. That is what Tantra is. True Tantra is the ability to basically have energy intimacy with your significant other, where you're actually being intimate energetically and spiritually before you even begin to be intimate physically. So I can tell you, when you connect on that spiritual level, when you connect on that energetic level, it just makes the physical experience so much better. And at that point, when you experience that, you definitely don't want to cheat on your partner, because there's nothing like it at all. So, if you have any questions about anything I've talked about, you can always go to my website, www.consciousinfinity.net, and contact me through the contact forms or call me. But I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.